Hi guys, welcome back to episode 9 of the Q4FY26 series. And in today's video, we will be discussing about Sanofi Consumer Healthcare India Limited. Okay. Now, if you look at this company that is there since the time it got listed, it wasn't really a great opportunity. But all of a sudden, you're seeing in the last 3 quarters, the growth rate, is growing. Like the growth rate has doubled. It's growing at like almost 40% sort of growth rate. So, what has happened with the business? What has changed in the business in order for them, to grow at this rate? What is the growth looking like? Is there a sustainability to this growth, or is it a one time thing? What is the valuations looking like, and what are the risks associated with the business? We will be discussing everything about it in today's video. Okay, so first thing first, I will also share my screen and help you understand it so it becomes easier, and you'll also have a very comprehensive approach to it. Okay, so first let us understand like Sanofi Consumer Health ka, what is the change that has happened? Because see, whenever we talk about a business that is there, a business can be lull, absolutely lull, and it can completely change. A turnaround can happen, and a turnaround can happen for a couple of reasons. Either we have a change in management, like what we've seen with we've seen with Cupid, right? The change in management completely changes the trajectory. Or we see like a bada company hai, it gets broken down into multiple pieces. As a result, the fast this also helps. Divestment process also helps, right? The third is it could be you're changing the distribution channel, right? This also really gives the gives a huge push. And the fourth is you go through a product mix, right? You go from selling a low margin product to a high margin product. With Sanofi Consumer Healthcare, there are two things that has happened, right? One is the divestment process that happened, and the second is you will see the change in distribution channel. These are the two most important things that has happened with this business in order for it to give that growth ka trajectory, right? Okay, so first let us understand कि like iska kya divestment process hai, okay? Because if you look at this company, Sanofi Consumer Healthcare India, this belongs to a bigger French company, a pharmaceutical company, is a parent company which is called as Sanofi. Okay. Now this Sanofi French company, it was started in 1973. It was an oil-based company. Later they shifted into a pharmaceutical company. And as the company got bigger and bigger, these people started making everything under the umbrella of pharmaceutical drugs, right? Like aapka patented formula ho gaya, aapka over-the-counter medications, vaccines. Like think about anything and everything pharmacy in terms of manufacturing, in terms of making a brand with respect to a product that is there. These people were making it. Okay. And then later what had happened, the business started having a lot of friction, a lot of problem. And in the year 2019, the then CEO, Paul Hudson, that was there, he made a strategy called as play to win strategy. उन्होंने start किया था. इस play to win strategy में उन्होंने क्या किया था? He did a divestment. Like he separated the pharma, he did a two-way approach, pharma approach and consumer healthcare approach. Now here is the thing, both of them that is there, both of the pharma approach and the consumer healthcare approach that is there, both are ultimately selling आपका medications only, tablet, syrup, whatever it is. But the way it is sold, the channel that you're choosing to sell it, that is different. Okay. I'll give an example over here. Let's talk in detail as to what is this pharma approach and what is this thing. Huh. I think my screen is visible. So what is this pharma approach? What is this consumer healthcare approach? Okay. Pharma approach ka matlab hai, let's say for example, you have to make a patented formula. The drug will not be known by a brand name. It will be known through a formulation. Like for example, if you have acne, you would take a tablet called as isotretinoin bol ke hai. Now isotretinoin is the name of the drug. It is the name of the formula. Now isko, there are a lot of companies that are selling it. Whoever has a patent, they can sell it, under their brand name called as Zotret, Gatret, whatever it is. But you will see none of your aapka jo healthcare professional ho, either it is doctor or pharmaceutical or whatever, they do not know it by the brand name. Like Zotret bol ke usko koi nahi janta hai. Everybody knows it by very simple name called as isotretinoin. Okay, that is it. Okay, so this in pharma approach kya hota hai? It is completely patent based hai. Versus over here in a consumer healthcare approach kya hai? The medication is known by the brand. Like for example, Crocin, paracetamol, Combiflam, everything, right? These are all the same formulations. But do you know what is a formula for Crocin, paracetamol, and everything? Do you know what is a formula name? We don't know. But how do we remember it? We remember it by the brand name. So this is the number one difference that is there. Second, since this is a formulation that is there, it is, these kind of medications, they should be given only, they are only available to a consumer via prescription, which means what? You have to go to the doctor has to write your prescription, then only you can buy the medication. Versus over here, since these kind of medications that is there, the consumer healthcare approach mein kya hote, these tablets, syrups, or whatever that is, you can go either with the prescription or without the prescription also, like you can go to the pharmacy and buy it. Okay, then obviously over here that is there again, like coming back to the first point over here, if you see, like since you are buying this medication of a brand, like I told you, right, Crocin, paracetamol that is there, you're recalling it via brand that is there. You have to do a lot of brand building, right? Pura ka pura aapko brand building karna hai yahan pe, because that is how the consumer will recall. Now, agar aapko brand building karna hai, you will have to spend a lot more in advertisement, right? Aapko ads chalana padega, marketings mein zyada spend karna padega, because that is how a consumer will know ultimately, like, this some sort of medication is available for this XYZ problem that is there. So obviously over here, aapka jo marketing spend is there, that is much more. Here, like I told you over here, since it is prescription based driven that is there, right? This you will only go and get it from a doctor. So you do not have to do a lot of marketing spend. Also at the end, like if there is no patent over here, it can do a new launch. Like for example, if there is no patent for isotretinoin, let's say for example, wo patent hata deta hai, then anybody can go ahead and make it. It could be still a prescription based drug only. You will have to go and get it from a doctor. But having said that, since iska patent chala gaya abhi, then any company can go and manufacture it. But yahan pe this consumer healthcare approach mein iska patent na bhi ho, ultimately ya patent ho, the entire thing comes down to what? Brand recall, right? So yahan pe brand building zyada hai versus over here kya hota hai, ek limited channel hai, ek limited, you need a lot of patent, then only it will be successful. So this is the difference between pharma and consumer healthcare approach. Okay, and unhone kya kiya, like I told you, in the year 2019 that is there, they divided the business into two types: pharma approach and consumer healthcare approach. And this consumer healthcare approach business was called as Opella, Opella. Okay, and Opella ko bhi unhone, some people bought it and everything. Then they again changed the name to Sanofi Consumer Healthcare bol ke they rebranded it. And is Sanofi Consumer Healthcare ka, this French company, whatever that is, iska jo Indian based subsidiary hai, Indian arm of the business that is there, this is called as Sanofi Consumer Healthcare India Limited. Okay, so this is the number one change that had happened with the business. Okay, because yahan pe kya hua rata hai na, ye jo pharma approach hai, whenever you're talking about vaccines and everything, you need a lot of what do you call that, gestational period high hote iska, and also you need a lot of regulations and everything. It was completely killing this entire consumer healthcare. Pura, it was drawing it down. So that is why this happened. Now, after this had happened in 2019, the business was still low. It was not like something great was happening over here. The entire change that had happened over here started in 2025, 2024, 2025. May start tomorrow. Okay. Now, let us again go back. Now let's come to this Sanofi Consumer Healthcare India, and let us understand what does this company do. Sanofi Consumer Healthcare, like we told, these people make a lot of your pharma drugs. Okay, matlab ye basically drugs manufacture karke, these people sell it under their own name. Okay, that is it. You have to understand. And if you look at their core portfolio, majority of the sales that is there comes from these four medications: Allegra, Combiflam, Depura, and Avil that is there. Now, before 2024, before that, what had happened? They had only two medications, Allegra and Depura. Now, what has happened? They've introduced two more medications, that is Combiflam and Avil that is there. This is one thing. The second, over here, you can see, like, one of the biggest change that has happened, like I told you, the second big change that happened with the businesses, change in distribution channel. Okay, please understand this. What is it? Change in distribution channel. Now, like you see, whenever you go, let's say whenever you want a medication, whenever you are sick, right? Think about it. How do you get a medication? There are three ways. Either you go to a doctor, they'll give you a prescription and you get a medication over from there, or you go to a pharmacist, like aapka medical ka dukaan jo hota hai, you go there and you tell that bhaiya ke, like, bro, I have a bhaiya, mera sardi ho raha hai, aap mujhe kuch medication do. The third, you already know the medication name because the medicine is advertised very widely, either on a television or any sort of social media platform, and you know that if I have this kind of problem, I can go and buy this medication, and you directly go and get it from the pharmacy shop. So there are three ways that you can buy any sort of medication. Now, earlier what had happened, as you can see earlier, first of all, they had only two medicines. One is Allegra, the other one is Depura. Okay, by the way, let me share another screenshot with you. Yeah, so as you can see, this Allegra and Avil that is there, it is this, how do I tell? It is a medicine for allergies. Like you can see, Allegra on the one hand, aapko drowsy nahi banata, versus Avil aapko drowsy banata hai. And this is mostly for hives, like aapka kuch, kuch aap khate ho. For example, for a lot of people, like, if you eat sometimes a little bit of raw seafood, you get this, aapka ek thoda hives jaisa aate, matlab thoda, how do I put this? Your face becomes swollen and you get this. It happens to me sometimes, and I take this antihistamine medication that is there. So this is for that. On the other hand, you see there are different types, let's say because आपका skin itching होता है, for that you take Avil. On the other hand, Depura is आपका vitamin D का supplement. Combiflan, Combiflan is similar to Crocin, right? Whether you have body pain, whether you have fever, whether you have any sort of pain that is there, Combiflam is Combiflam is like a combination of painkiller plus fever का medications आप बोल सकते हो, ठीक है? Anti-inflammation medication बोल सकते हो. So this is the product portfolio, and like we discussed earlier there were only two products. One is Allegra and Depura, and abhi kya ho raha hai? As of now in 2026 there are 4 products. Okay. Now along with that, what had happened earlier, you can see, right, there was only one mode of distribution. Like see, like I told you, you could be a pharma or a consumer. Consumer mein you can either like go, consumer mein kya hai, that drug can be sold with or without prescription. Earlier what had happened, they didn't have the license to sell it without prescription. So this was a kind of medication, that is Allegra and Depura. They used to sell it only via healthcare professionals. Matlab what? You have to go to the doctors and get the medication. But now you would see in the last, I would say not couple of years, I would say in the last 10 years or so, the trend has completely changed, because not many people have the time or the money to go to a doctor and get for a simple things to go to a doctor, get a prescription and everything, right? Because there is so much information that is there out there available, like I think nowadays we diagnose everything via Google, right? So what has happened, people don't want to go don't want to go and get a prescription. See, look at this data over here. 53 million Indians access health related info online, okay? And 26% of the consumers are self-medicated, and the 15% medicated via chemist consultation. Chemist मतलब आपका क्या, आपका जो मेडिकल का दुकान का भैया है, वो आप उनसे जाके पूछ लेते हो, भैया मेरे को एक मेडिसिन दे दो, मेरे को ये प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है, right? This is the thing. So the entire channel, like earlier, if you had anything, आपका fever भी होता है, we would go to the doctor. But now what has happened, for simple medications, we no longer go to the doctor, right? Our entire channel has changed. We trust the pharmacy bhaiya more, and also the other thing is, we trust probably Google and AI more, that is it. So this is the thing. So now what had happened, they realized, like, see, we have very solid products that is there. We have this Allegra and Depura that is there. We have very solid products, but we are very stuck to one thing, that is healthcare professionals, right? We don't have the license for pharmacy. We don't have the license, we are not able to advertise this product. So they completely changed their distribution, and kya ho gaya? They entered all the channels that is there. Then they got, first thing what they did was, they didn't want to give up even in the healthcare professionals, because, that is also like, majority, like, you can tell a part of the system. On the other hand, what they did point of sale. Point of sale ka matlab kya hai? You go to the pharmacy and make sure your product, that is it, you introduce it to that pharmacist. You tell them ki like aapka kya hai medicine, how is it better than the other medications, because even the pharmacist guy has to be educated on the product, right? They started emphasizing more on that. And the second thing what they did was, they started getting license in order to advertise their product on TV, because any medical, like you might see, there are a couple of things that you cannot advertise in TVs or in any social media platform. One is alcohol, right? Alcohol ka aap kabhi bhi advertisement nahi kar sakte ho. I think the only time you will see alcohol ka advertisement is that Royal Blend or Royal Walker. I don't know if you guys remember, Priyanka Chopra aati thi. Even in that, there was no direct advertisement. It was more like, she was walking on the ramp or something like that. Similarly over here with medications also, most of your medications cannot be advertised. There is very strict rules and regulations as to like what kind of medications. Only the general over-the-counter medications that is there, that can be advertised. So they got this also. They started getting the license and they started advertising their product. Okay, so they went from one. Two things that had happened. One is a divestment. Second is change in distribution channel. Ye bhi hua. And along with that, they got two other medications, Combiflam and Avil jo hai. So all of these things came together at one point. That is in 2024, 2025, it came, and it really took place. It really took shape in 2025. And as a result, ab kya ho sakte, pura ka pura consumer ka, inka ye jo business hai, that got changed. And as a result, because of this only, what you're seeing is this incredible growth numbers that is there, right? Which is aapka, 28%, 46%, 47%, 32% आप देख सकते हो, right? Like this March over last March, you can see the sales grew by 32%. PAT, that is it, PAT grew by 36%. That is it. So this is the entire, आप बोल सकते हो, the crux of the business, the crux of what has happened over here. Now आगे जाके अभी वो क्या कर रहे हैं? आगे जाके in FY27 what they are targeting? They're targeting Avil को. Avil needs to get the license, for consumer and this point of sale. This is the main thing. And the other thing what they're doing is पूरा का पूरा distribution distribution ka khel hai abhi, right? Volume growth. It is a pure volume game. They're venturing into more pharmacies, trying to give more advertisements, trying to do a brand building over here. Pura ka pura volume game hai. As long as they're able to enter and execute the volumes that is there, then they can continue to grow. Okay, this is all that is there with Sanofi Healthcare. But here is the thing that nobody is talking about. Now, do you see over here, ye jo 32% hai, 47%? Think about it the same time last March, right? Same time last March mein kya hua tha? Can you see degrowth of 22% that is there? So is there any low base effect that is playing out? The answer is also yes. Okay. Now, what had happened was in the last year, same time last year that is there. I do not know if you guys can read here. I do not know where it is. Yeah, I think somewhere here you could read it. I think it is over here. This point number 3, you can read it over here. What had happened was in the same time last year, I would say throughout the year, especially in the last 2024 and the year 2025, there was a lot of recall with respect to their medicines. The year 2024 and 2025 was really terrible for Sanofi because kya hua tha, unka ek, in one of their manufacturing plants that is there was a contamination, and whichever medicines were produced during this period, during the contamination period, they had to do a lot of recall, right, across the country of this for this medication. And unhone voluntarily bhi recall kiya tha for a lot of medication. No reason why they did it, but unhone voluntarily bola tha ki like bhai isko mat becho, wapas kar do medicine and everything, right? And because of this recall that had happened, you will see is why you will see the sales growth gira, 20-25% se sales growth gira, right? Now, last in December 2025, if I'm not wrong, they had done like a small call with the analyst that is there. You will find the transcript over here. What they had done is like yahan pe, without the brand recall, they mentioned I think there was 11% kind of growth. Like, so it is very important to know over here. अगर ये brand recall without the effect of brand recall, because see this is lower base effect भी है, along with that that brand recall के वजह से ये हुआ है. Let's say if tomorrow the brand recall hadn't had happened in the same time last year, then what is your sales growth, right? What is the impact of your sales growth without the brand recall? That is very important. Okay, that is the thing. See, the company is doing everything right. It is the business is, let me just stop it over here. Yeah, the business is moving in the right direction. Like matlab jo kuch bhi change hona tha ho chuka hai. Now it is the time is for execution, but it is very important because I'll talk about the risk over here. There are two main risks. One is what we are seeing, this entire 30 to 40% growth rate that we're seeing, it is coming because of the low base effect of brand recall. Tomorrow of the brand recall, because same time next year agar hum jayenge, that is when I compare, let's say for example, what is that, Q1 of FY28 with Q1 of FY27, because this year it is, the base is normalized, there is no brand recall. Will you be able to grow at 30%? Will you go back to growing at 15-17%? That is a big question over here. And in order for them to grow at that 30 to 40%, the answer is very simple. Go heavy with respect to distribution. Volume growth karna hi padega. There is nothing over here. And for this, you have to track. As they continue to do volume growth, the number will be reflected on sale. That is point number 1. Point number 2, what is the other biggest risk over here? Execution risk. Like I told you, this company ka divestment hua tha 2019 May. And you will see like a lot of this, even in 2024, when things got better for them, they started, going into different channels that is there. Consumer healthcare mein gaya, they went into, advertising karne gaya apna product ka, they started doing pharmacy ka approach bhi gaya. But having said that, kya hua? Execution nahi raha. Like I told you, right? Contamination with respect to the plant, they voluntarily recall karna medications ka and everything. Like, lot of problems that is there had happened. So this is also another risk because the execution ka bahut bada risk hai. They have to be able to execute, and all this unknown risk can also play out, because when you talk about medicines and everything over here, it is very important that you maintain higher standard of quality. And agar ye recall hota hai, similarly again in this year, or whatever reason it could happen, if they do a recall of medications again, it all goes for a toss. Now talking about the final thing is valuation. If I conservatively do, because see, I think they can grow by 30%, and if I take an operating leverage of 35 to 40%, and let's say if they grow their PAT by at around 30% growth rate that is there, right? Maybe they can grow the PAT at like 270 to 300 crores probably for the upcoming year, that is FY27. Then the 1 year forward PE comes up to the range of 32 to 37, in that range. 32 to 37 for a 40% growth engine that is there. It is It is not overly expensive. It still falls in that, high growth, low P range mein hi fall karte. So there is a P rating that is even possible even from at this level. But having said that, for that P rating to happen, again, only thing that matters is execution. They have to execute over here, and the execution should come at a very high double digit. Matlab, you have to grow at 30% and above. You can't grow at 15% above. Matlab aapka, volume growth ho nahi raha hai, and then market aapko bhav nahi dega. So that is, I think, very interesting opportunity over here, because finally everything that is supposed to, was supposed to go wrong for the business had gone wrong. Sara ka sara changes ho chuka hai. It is moving in the right direction. Hopefully the management can execute it and, become a 30 to 35% growth engine. Agar wo ho sakta hai, no, then great. That is very, very important, along with the 35% ka growth engine, if they can give an operating leverage, Viola, it's going to be a banger, right? So that's that about Sanofi Consumer Healthcare. But yeah, please note, in इसने con call नहीं किया अभी तक. I do not know why they haven't done a con call. But yeah, this one thing over here, मैं बार बार बोलूंगी that 32% का growth rate, I hope there is no impact with respect to recall. It is also very important to know that number के, like, without the brand, आपका जो medicine का recall हुआ था last time, what is the sales growth का number? Okay, that is there. इसलिए मैं उस पे इतना stress किया. So that's it, guys, about Sanofi Consumer Healthcare, right? मैंने इसलिए भी video बनाया because a lot of people were going gung-ho with respect to that 40% का growth rate का number. They hadn't, I know a lot of people just look at the sales number, but please, when you look at the sales number, please, for God's sake, look at the volume growth, look at the value growth, look at everything. Ask yourself कि like, भाई ये 40-50% का जो sales कर रहा है, if a company is doing, how are they getting that 40 to 50%? Because इसका जो 32% का growth rate है, and last few quarters का 40% का growth rate है, a huge factor has come because of the low base effect and recall. अगर वो brand recall ना होता, right, then probably the growth rate would be 15 to 20% in that range. So please remember that, like, don't look at just one number. Understand how that number came. That is very, very important. Okay, so that's that, guys. And yes, you guys, I think, are aware, right? I think you guys have watched Rajoshi's video. We're coming up with a new membership program, the annual membership program we are going to be starting. And if you guys like, we are also going to start with that annual membership program called as loyalty credits. So if you're somebody who has bought more than 3 courses from our website, you will get a 25% loyalty credits, right? Which means 25% off in the upcoming product. And if you've bought more than 2 products, it will be 15%. And if you've bought only 1 product, then it is like, then it is like around 10% off. So make sure you're getting the current portfolio analysis workshop, so you can avail, the offers for the membership program, because starting, I think we will launch the product probably May 20th and later. And after that, none of the products that is there, investment checklist or financial workshops or portfolio analysis, so none of it will be there on the website. This is your last chance to buy. After that, all the products will come out only and only under the annual membership program. So that's that, guys. Take care. Bye.